What's going on, guys? I'm Bill and welcome to Bill's How To. Today I'm going to show you how to prevent doors from turning into this by simply addressing this right now. Let's get straight into it, guys. Let's do this. So this is a very common problem on external doors and also internal doors that are exposed to moisture. So your bathroom, your laundry, you can see here right on the edge, that paint has completely come away. It's bubbled. It's starting to become really soft and brittle. You can see there, I can just simply scrape that away. That's not what you want. If you don't get on top of it when you start seeing it like this, it's just simply going to spread all the way across along the edges, making it very, very difficult to repair. You're either going to have to replace the door or you're going to have to spend a fair few hours trying to fix it. So if we get on top of it today, which shouldn't take too long, we'll restore this door back to the way it was and we won't have to worry about it again. Most common place is down on the base here because you have to seal the edges around on an exposed door. So anywhere where it's exposed to moisture, like in a bathroom or laundry or your front door, you have to make sure that the base here underneath is always sealed and painted all the way around to make sure that it doesn't suck up any of that moisture. So the paint here or the sealed section is your barrier to prevent the moisture from getting in. So what we're going to do first and foremost is we're going to sand this little section here to get it as nice and smooth as possible. It's not too bad now because we've caught it fairly early, but we're going to make sure that we don't have any other issues down the track. So we're going to take our sandpaper. Now, depending on how much material you need to remove, you can use 120 grit to 140 grit. Something nice and fine. We don't want to spread the sanded area out too far. So we're literally going to just concentrate on this little corner here. Once that's all nice and smooth and it's no longer flaking away as it is now, we can move on to the next step. So just simply take that nice and easy along the edge there. This one here shouldn't take too much at all. And you can see just how much material's actually come off. Try and square that back off again. Now, if you find that it's not coming up smooth and it's taking away too much material and it's still flaking away, you might have to actually sand that back until it's nice and sound once again, and then you're going to fill that little section in using any kind of builder's bog or Bondo or anything like that, anything with a hardener that's going to allow you to sand that down nice, get that one there back to a nice stable and sound surface so that you can actually work with it. So once you've got it sanded down and you're happy with the way it's looking, what we're going to do next is apply a little bit of sealer, and that's basically going to seal all these little fibers here. Wait for that to dry. We're going to come back and give it another light sand and then go over the top of it once again with one more coat of sealer. So the sealer that I'm using is from Zinsser. Pretty much any of the Zinsser sealers will work perfectly here. We only want a little bit of sealer on here because we're just focusing on that little corner. So we make sure that we've got everything completely covered, and remembering we're going to sand this down anyway, but still we want to get that as flat as possible to reduce the amount of sanding. We're going to let this one here dry and then we're going to come back and give it a nice fine sand once again. So once the seal is dry, then we can take our sandpaper once again. Now, if you started with 120 grit, jump up to something finer like 240, and likewise if you started with 240, jump up to something finer once again. Give it a nice light rub. We're just making sure everything's going to stay nice and smooth. Once you're happy with that, we'll give it one more coat of our sealer. That's going to make sure that we haven't removed any of that sealer that we put on initially. So once again, we're taking our sealer and we're just going to make sure that everything's completely covered. Once again, feather it off as much as you can or lay off the paint. It's going to make it much easier for sanding and also for your dry time. All right, wait for this one here to dry. We'll give it one more last Nice little fine sand. We're going to take our sandpaper, once again, very, very lightly. We're just going to make sure that there's no imperfections here and everything's nice and flat. So do the exact same thing, super light. Now that one there is completely ready to have our top coat going over the top, but if you have a look at it, it is looking really, really nice. The color is very similar, the primer to the actual finish color here. Now, something to keep in mind is if you've got originally water-based paint on your door, then you can probably get away with just doing a slight little touch up, especially on these edges here. You won't really notice it rather than painting the whole door. In my case, because these doors here are originally painted in an oil base, it's been about 3 years now. And these doors here, or pretty much any oil-based paint, over time it starts to go a little bit yellow. So if you started off with a nice bright white, over the years it tends to go a little bit yellow. And if you put a little bit of touch up here, you'll probably see the difference. So that's just a common issue that we've got with oil-based paints, the yellowing over time. So what we're going to do is I'm actually going to just touch up this area here to show you what it's going to look like, even though it's oil-based paint. But you may actually see a contrast between the new fresh paint that I'm putting on now versus the old slightly yellowed paint. So I'm going to quickly touch up this section here, so you can see just how much difference there is. This is the exact same color from the exact same tin that these doors here were painted with. We're going to try and touch this one here up. Even if it doesn't 100% blend right now, over time it will blend into itself. But if you're really OCD and you wanted to get a perfect finish straight away, then unfortunately you're going to have to paint the whole door, which is what I'm going to have to do. One of the benefits of oil-based paint though, that not a lot of people know about, is its self-leveling ability. So when you put it on, even if we use just the brush, over time or over a couple of hours, that'll actually self-level, settle down. Most of those brush marks actually disappear. So a nice little fun fact for using oil base. Oil base still very nice to use. And the issue is the dry time, the smell, and the mess. You can see I'm just using the back of the tin here rather than making another tray that needs to be cleaned out or thrown away. All right, so that's looking good on that side. We'll just do the front. We'll let that one there dry. Then I'll show you guys what it ends up looking like. And once it's all done, this is what it ends up looking like. So we've got a perfect repair job right there. We no longer have to worry about that damaged section spreading, flaking, the paint coming away, moisture getting inside the door. I've saved a lot of money for down the track and also a lot of time simply by doing this little process here, nice and simple. Not sure if you guys can see the difference between the old paint, which I stopped somewhere around here. So you should be able to see a contrast between the old paint and the new paint, but it just depends on the light catching it and which angle you're looking at. So for me, I'm gonna have to paint this whole door, but hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video. You've learned something new. I've saved you guys some money and hopefully saved you from having to replace your door. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. Until next time, I'm Bill. Thanks for watching Billshowto.